I never thought Thanksgiving could scare me. Growing up in the Midwest, it was predictable. Football on TV, the smell of stuffing, Mom yelling at everyone to get out of her kitchen, and Dad pretending not to hear her. But that year changed everything. Before I get to the nightmare, I should explain Uncle Ray. He wasn't normal. Dad always said so, and Dad is the type who excuses rattlesnakes for biting him. Ray was older, rough, fearless, and loyal to a fault. The kind of man who would fight 3 older kids just to protect his little brother and then march into a recruiting office asking for the hardest thing you've got. Marines. That's what he chose. And when he came back, he wasn't the same. Quiet, intense, dangerous. By the time I hit my teens, I'd forgotten he existed. Mom and Dad never mentioned him. No calls, no visits, like he'd vanished from the world. Until that Thanksgiving. The morning felt off. Not haunted, just tense. Mom chopped celery like she wanted to murder it. Dad kept wiping the counter obsessively, and I sat at the table trying to pretend my waffles were interesting. Then I heard it. Mom snapping, "You should have told him no, Hank." Dad didn't flinch. "I'm not telling my own brother he's not welcome here." Mom lowered her voice. "He isn't like other brothers, and you know it." Dad finally looked at her. "He's still family." The air in the kitchen thickened. I'd never seen my parents fight like that. I asked the question that had been burning in my chest. "Is Uncle Ray really coming?" Dad sighed. "Yeah, he's coming." Mom muttered something under her breath that made my stomach flip. "And he's not coming alone." Hours later, I heard the hum, then the growl, then a roar, multiple roars. My window rattled. Pulling back the curtain, my jaw dropped. A line of motorcycles was rolling down our quiet street, chrome glinting, engines screaming, men in leather jackets and tattoos, radiating danger. Leading them was a tall man with a short gray ponytail, a faded vest covered in military patches. He parked, took off his helmet, and stared at our house like he already knew everything that was Uncle Ray. A biker shouted, "Which one of you suburban sons of our is Henry's kid brother?" Dad stepped outside, hands raised. "Ray, this is a neighborhood, not a damn parade." Ray barked a laugh. "What? Told them to be quiet." I watched from my window, frozen. These weren't TV tough guys. They were real, chaotic, terrifying. Then Ray looked right at me and smiled. Something about that smile made me realize the night would change everything. A knock sounded at the door. Not polite, not timid. It was a fist hitting wood. Before I could react, 6 men poured into my room, bringing smoke, leather, beer, and cold November air. "The kid's got himself an arcade," one of them said. Ray stepped forward. "This the famous nephew?" I nodded, my voice cracking. "Yes, sir." "Don't sir me, I work for a living," Ray said, laughing. One biker elbowed him. "The boy looks like he's about to pass out." Ray crouched, squinting at my Super Nintendo. "Show me how this works." He died in the first few seconds of the game, and kept dying. The bikers roared with laughter. For the first time that night, I laughed too. Eventually, food was ready. Chaos spilled into the dining room. Ray and his crew devoured the turkey like wolves. Mom forced a smile. Dad looked relieved in a way I hadn't seen in years. The room buzzed with stories, some real, some bullshit, all loud. Then the tone shifted. Subtle at first. Ray leaned back. "Hank, you going to tell her, or should I?" Dad froze. Mom's eyes widened. "Tell me what?" "I'm in trouble," Ray said simply. "Things went bad in Reno. Real bad. Some guys are looking for me. Worse than cops." Mom's chair fell as she stood. "You brought danger to my home." Ray nodded. "I needed somewhere they wouldn't expect. You're all I got." And then it began. At 10:30, the bikers started leaving. Not all, just some. Quietly, they split into pairs, eyes scanning the street. Ray paced, twitching. Dad whispered, "How close are they?" "Close enough," Ray said. Before I could process, one biker returned. Too fast. Black Crown Vic, circling. Been around twice. Mom grabbed my arm. Ray exhaled. "They found me." Dad grabbed us and guided us to a back room. We pressed against the floor listening. Boots on gravel. Motorcycles revving. Angry voices. Then a gunshot. Mom screamed. Dad pulled us lower. Minutes passed. The living room was empty. The driveway was empty. Ray and his bikers had vanished. All that remained was a single spent shell casing at the end of the driveway, warm in Dad's hand. We never saw Ray again. Cops found nothing. No evidence, no bodies. Just a family that had survived one terrifying night. Months later, Dad got a letter from Ray. "Didn't mean to bring heat, thanks for dinner. Keep the kid out of trouble. R. Thanksgiving will never feel safe again." That night, the engines, the laughter, the gunshot, and the uncle I barely knew carved themselves into my memory forever. I never imagined Thanksgiving would be the day my life splintered open like a rotten floorboard, quiet at first, then a sudden, sickening drop into something dark. Before everything went wrong, I had convinced myself I was finally stabilizing, holding my world together with duct tape, late-night coffee, and the stubborn belief that moving back home meant a fresh start. My name is Lena Ward, and I'd spent most of the year pretending I'd healed. After my breakup with Jared, who wasn't cruel, just emotionally hollow in a way that drained you over time, I packed up my life and moved back to Pine Hollow, Ohio. It's one of those towns where the air always smells like cornfields, and the Walmart always smells like stale popcorn. Small, predictable, safe. My new apartment was the bottom half of a duplex owned by a retired couple who spent half the year in Florida. My roommate, Kendall, worked nights as a nurse's aide. She was messy in a lovable way, leaving sticky notes like "drink water, gremlin," or "leftover pizza is sacred." I felt comfortable with her around, but I didn't feel safe online. Not after Rowan. That wasn't his real name. I never got his real one. On the dating app, he called himself Rowan_hikes, profile picture blurry, messages oddly poetic in a try-hard way. At first, he seemed quiet, harmless, outdoorsy. Then everything shifted. He became clingy, obsessive, sending messages if I didn't reply within minutes. "You're ignoring me again. I can feel it. Just say you want to talk to me. Why are you out? Who's with you?" I unmatched him. I blocked his number. That's when new numbers started appearing. Sometimes, "Hi, Lena." Sometimes, "Why?" Sometimes paragraphs that read like arguments with someone who wasn't me at all. I kept telling myself it was nothing. People get weird online. Just block and move on. But he didn't move on. I never told my family because I didn't want my dad showing up unannounced or my mom worrying herself sick. I wanted to handle my own mess. Which is why Thanksgiving blindsided me. My parents live in Silvermill, the kind of suburb where every house looks identical and everyone waves while walking their golden retrievers. This year's holiday was small. My parents, my aunt and uncle, my cousins, and me. Kendall had gone north to spend the day with her family. Everything felt normal, warm, boring in a comforting way, until my phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Happy Thanksgiving, Lena. You look beautiful today." My heart stopped. I hadn't posted a picture. No one had taken one. No one even had their phone out. How could he see me? I texted back quickly. "Who is this?" Instant reply. "Don't do that. You know." I felt physically sick. I shoved the phone away and forced myself through dinner, pretending to laugh, pretending to chew, pretending everything wasn't unraveling. When my uncle asked if I was okay, I lied and said I was tired. Hours later, after everyone left, I finally checked my phone. 7 new messages, 7 different numbers. "I know you saw my message. You're ungrateful. You think you're safe with them. You're making me into someone I don't want to be." My hands shook as I handed the phone to my parents. My dad's jaw clenched. "We're going to the police tomorrow." They wanted me to stay the night, but knowing Kendall wasn't home, I didn't want the apartment sitting dark and empty. It was stupid. I know that now. I drove back around 9 p.m., telling myself nothing was going to happen. When I stepped inside, the apartment felt wrong. Not messy, not quiet, empty, like someone had scooped the warmth out of the walls. I locked the door behind me, changed into sweats, and put on a cheesy rom-com to drown out my thoughts. Halfway through the movie, I heard footsteps inside the apartment. Slow, heavy, deliberate. "Kendall?" I called. No answer. The footsteps came closer and stopped outside my bedroom door. The knob turned once, softly, then harder. "Kendall?" I tried again, voice cracking. Silence. Then a whisper. Too quiet to understand. I backed into the far corner of my room and called Kendall. Voicemail. Again. On the 5th call, she answered, "I'm at my mom's. Why? What's wrong?" "Kendall, someone is in the apartment. Lena, call the police. Lock your door. Don't move." Before I could reply, a text buzzed from a new number. "Good thing you made it easy to find your place." Another. "You lock your bedroom door every night." Smart girl. My blood ran cold. He knew. He had been watching me long before tonight. I called my dad. He raced over in 5 minutes, even though the drive usually took 15. I listened to every creak in the hallway, expecting the footsteps to return. When my dad finally knocked and shouted my name, I sprinted out and let him in. We searched the apartment. Nothing. Until he checked the kitchen window, he slid it up effortlessly. The lock was broken. "He came in this way," my dad whispered. That night, I didn't return to the apartment. We went to court the next morning. 2 weeks later, at the hearing, I finally saw him. Thin, jittery, eyes sunken and locked on me like I was something he owned. When the judge extended the restraining order, he muttered, "You made me into this." Security dragged him out. He never contacted me again, but the nights still feel different. The locks still get checked 3 times, and sometimes, when the house creaks just wrong, I swear I hear footsteps outside my door. I never imagined Thanksgiving would be the night I stopped feeling safe in my own home. It began so normally, so comfortably, that the shift from warm to terrifying still feels like whiplash. I grew up in a tiny Washington town called Fairview Ridge, the kind of place where people wave even when they don't know you, and gossip spreads faster than rainfall. After my parents split, I stayed with my mom and 2 sisters. My grandma was around so much she may as well have lived in the spare room. Thanksgiving was our unshakable tradition. No matter how tight money got, no matter how rough the year had been, we always showed up for each other on that day. But this year felt different. My older sister, Lynette, had finally moved into her own apartment. My younger sister, April, was still at home. I was scraping through life with a part-time grocery store job, pretending I knew what I wanted. Mom had been stressing for weeks, desperate to recreate the old warmth, the peace, the sense that, for one day, nothing could break us. We wanted that too, and maybe the universe sensed it, because right when we started to relax, it struck back hard. Around noon, I stepped outside to toss some trash when the first cold droplets hit, heavy, loud, warning me the storm was about to swallow the whole street, and it did. Within minutes, the downpour turned our quiet road into a twisting river, wind slamming the gutters like something straight out of a horror movie soundtrack. Inside, though, everything felt safe. Football murmured in the background, the smell of turkey drifted through the hallway, and Grandma hummed off-key while peeling potatoes. For once, everything felt like the old holidays we used to know. When my grandparents' car pulled into the driveway, April and I darted out through the rain to help them in before one of them broke a hip. Grandma clung to me, shouting about the sideways rain, and Grandpa just laughed like he could somehow out-stubborn a storm. Once inside, everyone fell into their familiar roles. Mom stressing, Grandma gossiping, April complaining, Lynette pretending she wasn't judging us, and me floating from room to room, trying to keep the peace alive. Mom kept repeating, "This year will be good. This year will be peaceful," like she was chanting a spell strong enough to hold the world together. Spoiler, it wasn't. By evening, the table was set, candles flickering, and the storm outside had turned the windows into shadows of black water. We ate until we were half asleep, laughing, teasing each other, pretending the world outside didn't exist. After dinner, we drifted into the living room, wrapped ourselves in blankets, and let football fill the silence. Then the doorbell rang. It wasn't a friendly chime. It was sharp, loud, out of place. We all froze. No one else was coming. No one had been invited. When Mom looked at me and asked me to check, I felt a knot tighten in my stomach, but I went anyway. The rain hammered our metal awning so violently it sounded like thousands of marbles bouncing off a tin roof. "Hello?" I shouted. A muffled voice answered, swallowed by the storm. I cracked open the main door but kept the storm door locked. A man in a dark green raincoat stood soaked on our porch, hood shadowing most of his face. His voice trembled as he asked for food, said he hadn't eaten all day. But something about the way he spoke felt rehearsed, too smooth. Against my better judgment, I grabbed some leftovers. When I returned, he was still staring in, unmoving. I lifted the plate, meaning to pass it through the gap. Then he seized the handle suddenly, pulling with startling force. "Hey!" I shouted, slamming my shoulder into the door. He pushed harder, face shifting just enough for me to see wide, jittery eyes, not hungry eyes, waiting eyes. When I stupidly unlocked the storm door, he yanked it so violently the plate crashed to the ground. "Mom!" I screamed. Lynette sprinted over. Together we shoved as two more silhouettes appeared in the walkway, rushing toward us. Panic surged through me like a shock of electricity. If we lost our grip for even a moment, they could have gotten inside with my family. We pushed with everything we had. The man slipped on the wet step, just enough we slammed the door shut, locked it, and I threw my full weight against it. Minutes later, the back door handle rattled violently, two men testing it. When they realized it was locked, they vanished back into the darkness. By the time the police arrived, the men were long gone. They said storms make nights like this perfect for testing houses, perfect for people who wait for you to let your guard down. That night changed something in us. The dessert stayed untouched. The house felt colder. The storm eventually stopped, but the fear didn't. I still double-check the locks every night. His voice still echoes in my memory. I just need inside, man. I wish I could forget how close they came, but I won't. I can't.